Okay, so in this step of the process, we are now in movement evaluation. And there's a couple different things we can do here, but we're going to be able to see how our teeth are moving into alignment and kind of review that workflow to see if it makes sense. A couple different ways to check that. First of all, you can always turn on and off your opposing arch, just like before. You can turn on and off IPR if there is any IPR indicated, diastemas and whatnot. So you can also show the initial position. Right here, we can grab this slider bar and just click on it with our mouse and drag it from left to right. And we can see the teeth kind of fall into alignment. Same thing here is if we click over here, I can now use my arrow keys on my keyboard to move around. Okay. Just be aware, one little tricky thing that sometimes throws people off. If you click over here and bring your mouse over top of the 3D environment, no longer does my arrow key up and down work. I have to click over here, see how it's blue, and then it's not. This keeps this active. The moment I move my mouse over the 3D environment, it is literally lying in wait, waiting for me to click on something. So it doesn't recognize the fact that I want to progress from step to step. So that kind of comes into effect later as well. But anyway, this allows us to see how things are moving. Notice that sometimes we might find a tooth that interferes with another. You see that we're finishing without any IPR, but throughout treatment there are some areas. Now, I don't recommend that you IPR just to make space for movement, because you're going to be left with open spaces. The software tries to avoid these collisions, but it's not always able to in the way we might want it to. So if there's something you want to do, if you want to delay a tooth from moving, for instance, notice that I'm on step 14, final position. That means there's 15 steps. If we watch tooth number 24, the lower left central incisor, the lower left one, and now we walk through the movement, we see that it's in position on step 5, and it never moves again. Yet we have 15 trays. So theoretically, we could in fact pick on that tooth, click that tooth, come down here to step 10, tell it to start step, that's the step it would start moving, click down here on refresh steps. Now if we go back through, we will find that it does not move until step 10. So we're just delaying its movement. Okay. If you see collisions where there's, for instance, this one right here, there's 0.15, but I also know there's a little space over here. I'm going to ignore that. I know the tooth will squish over to the midline a little bit and make its way through. I'm not going to reroute direction, which we can do, but not for something like this. 0.1, 0.15 maybe, and if I see space next to it, I'm just not going to worry about it. If it's more significant than that, in a more highly crowded case, there are ways to do things to avoid that. For instance, let's say that we needed to get this tooth out of the way of everything else. It's called round tripping. If I wanted to do that, I could click on this tooth, go to step 1, and now I could tip it way out to the buccal. Now, please do not do this for a patient. This would be very traumatic to their bone and whatnot. But let's just, for the sake of example, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to be pretty ridiculous with it. Get this tooth all the way out here. Now if I click refresh steps, notice it's jumped me up to 22 steps. And let me show you why. I'm going to click here, and now I'm going to progress through the movement. You see this tooth is moving way out, and now it's going to start returning back. So that is the point. You are round tripping. You're basically taking an extra destination along your way. That is sometimes needed to avoid collisions to a much, much, much smaller degree. But now you understand how you can do that. So once again, I could say, you know what, I want this canine to move way out. I want to move this in for whatever reason. That would almost never happen, but let's just say we did want to. Click refresh steps, and now we get to see it move in and then back out. And now we're up to 38 steps. So again, now you just see, you know how to delay movement by clicking on the start step and how to reroute teeth to avoid collisions. Now, I obviously don't want those, so I'm just going to go back, and then I'm going to go forward, and it's going to reset all the movements to the way they were when it initially proposed them. I'm happy with this. We didn't check the upper, so let's go ahead and do that. And just take a look to see if everything looks workable here. Okay, and I don't want to spend too much time in this video series, but this is one of those teeth that I would probably spend a little more time trying to avoid this collision. Now again, we've got all this space back here, so I'd probably try to kick it back, but I think this is going to be a tougher one because there's some root torque going on as well. But essentially, I would just click on it here, tell it to refresh steps, and this may not be the solution for this one, but we'll kind of see how it looks like. And yeah, it avoided that 0.45 contact collision that we had the first grow. So there you go. That's it for checking the movement evaluation. So one thing you can do down here is you can actually export a video. If I click here, it's creating a video right now, and then I can add some text to whatever I want it to say. Upper movement evaluation, and then I can say okay. It's going to ask me where to put it. I'm going to go back to my demo patient, and yeah, save it there. So now if I open up this, it's going to show me a little video. Sorry, this is my screen is not to the right proportion. Well, I think you can see most of it within your viewing screen. You can see it moving. So now, if you're a laboratory technician, you can send this to your dentist, your client, and have him review it, him or her. And same thing if you're just doing it for a patient workup and you want to show them, what's possible. Now or what the plan is. That's your animation before you move forward and get all the way through the case. So that's that. You can also export it when you hit the save button. You can, let's see, let's create, say okay, and you can save it as either an AVI or a GIF. Okay? Let's hit cancel, and that's that. So we're now done. We can now go down. What do we want to do? Are we going to, this is an aligner case, are we going to add buttons? Are we going to add brackets for indirect bonding trays? I'll come back and make another set of videos to talk about that. Attachments, no attachments, I should say. If we're not going to add any buttons, we'll click here. Leave this box unchecked for now at the time of this making this video. This might change in time, but for now, the software has the ability to design the aligners that could be printed. We just don't have material available. Again, at the time of this video, in the United States, we don't have material that makes sense to print the trays themselves with. But just know the software is ready, just waiting for that time. If you were doing brackets, you would click here and you would click on this to design the indirect bonding tray. But again, I'll make that a different video on that. So add buttons and click continue to add buttons.